in fact, any song apparently, because we are live on YouTube. So any song I play would
Are we
be.
live? Good luck.
I know we're live. I know. I'm just introducing now because I'm waiting for people to join before we start the session. Still not live on YouTube, by the way. Just saying, because I'm like refreshing the page. But yeah, as I was saying, like I'm not allowed to play a song to wait for people to join because apparently if I do, then all the royalties goes to the person with the song. So that's not. We're live. I know. I'm just introducing now. All right, there you go. The live session is true. So, hi Daniela. I like how both of us have like exotic backgrounds.
Of course.
How are you doing?
It's the beauty of Zoom.
Beauty of
Well,
Zoom.
the third week of quarantine and Zoom marathons and digital collaboration, it's exhausting. At the same time, it's very different. I would be right now traveling all over the world and have the busy environmentally unsustainable life that many of us probably would have had that now moved to the virtual space. So yeah, it's we're managing between virtual collaboration and physical, needs to concerning home office and managing family and everything, like everyone else, I guess.
Yeah,
How are
I
you doing?
understand. I feel you. Yeah. I'm the same actually. I'm having like it gets like there's some new habits that you actually create, right? So like new normality that you feel the way that you stay home. Like right now I do more like spontaneous calls than I used to do.
Right, yeah.
I work way more because like of course like you get yeah you're like somehow in the zone.
And the thing
And
is, you don't remember who you talked to about what, because you always talk to a screen. So you don't have the context of, okay, I talked to that person, I met them in a cafe, and I talked to that person, I went to their office, by train or by plane.
I used to
So
do
we are lacking this, and everyone I'm talking with, they're completely mixed up in their minds because they don't remember who they talked with about what. So we
I
work more
just
and we don't
joined.
remember it.
I just joined
sorry.
so we can invite. I just joined so we can invite some of the people that are watching on YouTube. If they can refresh the page, the live page, HackCorona.world /live, so they can join our Zoom and also take part here and ask questions if they want.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 6 participants. Not bad. From 220, how many did sign up?
Yes, 220 or
Wow.
218 people have signed up to be part of the hackathon. We've already formed 21 teams. Our goal is 50 teams. Um, so, and in the end, yeah, maybe I think we should definitely wait another 6-7 minutes.
But
Because
actually, I
also,
want to ask you something, because you told me the other day there was quite a challenge to work with government instead of companies. And we will talk today about innovation, about public innovation, about private innovation, about all types of innovation. So also for our participants, I think it would be interesting to, we will show them how design thinking can be used for product innovation, for service innovation, but also for a really much more higher level of systemic innovation. If we talk about governments, about cities, right? I don't know what's your take on that. How do you see the difference between managing, stakeholders that create systems, right, of engaging, and stakeholders that create just a simple product, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's a very challenging time for everybody, and I think particularly like from a governmental level, like it's very difficult. I mean, think about like I was reading an article that I thought was very interesting. What's the name of the writer? He also wrote, I think his name is, he wrote also the Homo Sapiens book.
Oh, yeah.
Yuval Noah
Yuval Noah
Harari.
Harari.
Yeah.
I read an article from him, and basically he was saying that essentially decisions are made so fast nowadays. So if you think about it, when you have, and I see that from a startup versus corporation perspective, right?
Right.
When you have a startup, you're so agile, you make
And
a
you're so
decision,
used to it.
and yeah, you make a decision and you execute it to the moment. You don't have to think twice. When you are a corporation, you start having processes. But now what's happening, I think right now, like think about like in levels, like a startup is like a small, very small community, like it's almost a family.
Yeah.
Like then on the other side you have the corporation, which is much bigger, right? And then it also requires a lot of layers and a lot of like signing off on processes. And then you have a government, the governmental level. And imagine now what kind of speed a government has to operate, right? They must be losing their sleep, right? Like they go to like such a speed because they know that they have to operate fast, because new decisions have to be made at like at a public policy level. Like
Right.
you need to make decisions about how like the healthcare infrastructure will be operating, how you're going to be able to sustain a couple of things. So I think like this is the important question here, right? I think that
Mhm.
like when you look at it from a systemic point of view, like how can we change systems that they are in place for so long without like
Right.
making rush decisions in this kind of difficult times, because rush decision can also impose laws that they are somehow like either unethical, or actually they are like inhumane, or they are like or not respecting like some sort of
Right. Yeah.
privacy boundaries. I mean, I think that's privacy is a
And
very
undermining the democracy we've all fought for, right?
exact
Including the net issues, and they were talking about having different internet speed for different activities. Like work would have a higher speed than if you stream Netflix, for instance, and that is something so many net activists have fought for not to happen, and now all of a sudden this is again a discussion. It's on so many layers. Our social net is becoming subject to this really quick and agile startup way of working, which is good on one hand. But on the other hand, I think many of us who are used to this agile and quick living are kind of happy that governments are slow, and that they need to be so accountable, and that they need to fill in 1000 formulas before doing something, because it affects actually so many people. So it's really good to have all these mechanisms in place to slow it down, right?
That's true, because then there's another really nice book, Think Slow and Think Fast. Do you know this book?
Yeah,
And like
Daniel
basically
Kahneman.
yeah, exactly how like essentially like depending on the times or depending on the decision, you either need to be quick on your feet, or you actually have to think slow because you need time to adjust. And I think sometimes these kind of processes are sort of like boundaries mechanism to like be able to decide in a slow way, so you actually make the right decision. Because
Yes.
otherwise if you make a rush decision, maybe this decision would be it would be like the wrong one, because you haven't thought it through, you haven't examined it from multiple angles, which is why I think also systemic change is so challenging, because how
Yeah.
can you change a system when you're resisting to change, right? Because
And
that's
it's
the thing,
imposing
like
you to have the loops. It's imposing you to think twice to have the loops. And since we are here today to talk a bit about the beauty of the design thinking process, actually, the one of the things that I like most about it, and I am totally biased, of course, is the fact that you can apply this iterative process that by design has the loops in it. So you do everything correct if you do the loops. Okay, you do everything correct if you don't assume from the beginning that you took the right decision, that you do quick and dirty prototypes, and then you go back and test it with different kind of users. So the beauty of it is that many governments have started embracing this type of this rationality of planning, and this rationality of creating policies, and of co-creating policies with their citizens, because it allows them to have this agility. It allows them to co-create with the citizens and to have a very structured process so everybody knows we are doing now step 2, 3, position 1, and if people want to have a matrix to compare, they can do it. It kind of hijacks the process, but it's okay. So I will put in our chat room a video for our participants. I'm not sure if you can put it also in the YouTube channel, because this is actually a really good introduction to what is design thinking and what it can be used for. So this is a video from a really nice innovation company called Awakening Group. I think they're based in Singapore. And basically what they say is something that the Design Council has found out in the UK a decade ago, and many other. There is a company called wait, was it called Mind Lab? I think in Denmark they had like an inbound design thinking company between their ministries to innovate the public sector, and there's been a lot of writing about this, and I think she brings it really on a very easy level for everybody to understand. She talks about design thinking 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. So she talks about the first hype when design thinking has been used by this very popular company, IDEO, in San Francisco, to design Apple's first mouse. So they were thinking about, okay, how should it feel? Like, how do you hold it? What do you need? Who needs it? Who uses it? It's more the architect. So what context do people use it in? And then you put yourself in the shoes of your user, and then from there you start to prototype, like quick and dirty, from paper, cardboard, whatever. And then people actually realized, okay, this process, this structured process, a 6-step process that helps you to think slow and fast in a very structured way, and in a fun way, and in a collaborative way, where you actually work in groups of 5 to 6 people, and the process forces you to hear all the voices and all the perspectives and all the disciplines, because an engineer will think very different and will speak very differently than a designer or medical staff, or a citizen. So the process kind of forces you to hear all the voices, to listen to all the voices, to have a common language, which is a visual sketching language, so nobody can hide behind the fact that they didn't understand what the other person said. And it was pretty clear at this, and we're talking 2009-10, that this type of process is actually quite good to apply it not only for creating a new product like this amazing, beautiful phone with an amazing interface, but also for creating services, right? So I look at it like that. If at the beginning we apply the design thinking process to design a really nice cup of tea, a product, so where we're thinking, okay, this handle, has to be like this, so I don't burn my fingers, and the cup should have this radius, so I can zip really nicely, and it should look nice, but of course form follows function. So in the first place, it should fulfill the function of having hot drinks in it, and then the form should be also nice. Then actually what turned out is that this process is pretty good also for designing, let's say, the experience of going to a cafe place. So all of a sudden, the same process has been applied to design everything that is around that coffee cup. So how do you attend your customers? How do you design the experience of entering a coffee shop? Think of, Starbucks. Think of small cafe places that have the smell and the images and the music, where you order in a specific way. All these are experiences that you design, and you can apply the same process, the same principles, to design these experiences in a way that they stick, that you don't know why you loved it, right? So it wasn't just the cup was really nice or the coffee tasted good, but everything about it really made you remember that moment. So that's what she calls design thinking 2.0, where you basically use and apply the same principles, the same tools, the same process to design experiences, to design services. And then again, design thinking 3.0 brought it to the next level. That is, we use the same mindset, initially from designers, from the Bauhaus school of thought and so on, with the same tools and the same approach to design transformation, to design something as intangible as cultural change, something as intangible as, let's say, how do you design the coffee drinking culture, let's say in a country like Japan that is a tea drinking culture. Okay, so how do you design that transformation? What type of awareness, communication mechanisms, what type of new role descriptions, what type of products do you introduce to nudge people's behavior? Right, so design thinking has started to be used for nudging, for psychological influencing people, for behavioral economics, for having a type of change that you see over time, over a long time distance. And basically, that's what our society engineers, like the policymakers, do, right? They engineer, they design the society we want to have. And you can engineer and design the society with putting and designing rules in place, but also with really small things like, do you know, I don't know if in Greece, or if you know this gendarme couché, the small things, the small bumpy things that you need to drive over when you need to slow down your car. So you're in a small street with kids playing, and then there's this thing in place where you automatically slow down your car because you don't want your car to break down, right? So this is nudging. This is making your behavior change through designing this really easy product that you put on the street. And I think this is the beauty of what we are trying to hack here is on very various levels. So something as easy and basic as, how can we um, uh, uh, hack or produce some really basic materials for hospitals, for the front line, or some really basic 3D produced ones, or some applications for visualization of the disease, or whatever is already out there in the minds of the people. But we can also think it further and think, how can we design now some products and some services that will meet the change in society that is going to happen due to the huge crisis that will follow, or is following already, this health crisis. So yeah, this is just a short, maybe theoretical background to it. Elena, I need your help now. We have
I'm here,
already
but
participants to get
um,
started with our templates, or what do you say?
yeah, sure. For technical questions, the first person to ask is the
I'm here.
one.
I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. For the HackCorona Slack and Zoom account. But I'm here, and I was at the beginning. I thought of maybe letting you write it and just making a comment that I'm here, but I'm out. Just to let you talk. I don't know if you want me, or would you need technical support for this next step, or
Well, if we can get started with the 11 people who are right now in the room, I would like to have everyone write in their chats from 1 to 5. 1 is, I have no clue about human-centered design or user-centered design and design thinking. And 5 is, I'm really proficient in it. So welcome, everyone. I think we can just, say welcome now to the participants that represent, as you have told me prior to this session, they represent the groups that will hack as of now.
Yeah, so
So
that's the thing. So this is the thing right now, actually, which is a little bit different, Daniela, from the last time we did it, which is probably why we don't have also that many people, apart from the fact that it's Thursday and people are still working, is that we have now started with the introduction sessions to a lot of things before we close the applications. So we don't have all the teams formed right now. They're still forming. So that's why I think you should also treat this session like as a session that they would be able to watch after we finish, so that they can always refer to it during the weekend. So we can also do an exercise if you think that would be helpful.
Just maybe a quick thing to see that the people who are there. So maybe 1 to 5, give me a really quick answer on. I've never heard of it. This is 1, and 5, I'm really proficient, and I've been using it in my work. In the chat room, you have 1 minute for that.
We actually have a question from one of the audience. Jim, can you speak?
Yes, actually, I'm in the process of designing the solution. I wonder whether will you be serving as some sort of mentor, so kind of spend time with us to apply design thinking, and so that we are using design thinking concept rather than common sense.
Well, I am going to introduce you to some templates that I've prepared for you and that you as teams can use. And I'm happy to jump on a Slack channel. Nevertheless, there is not going to be, we didn't plan for mentoring sessions for this hackathon, but for the next one, I will be available. I'm so sorry. I have two little clients waiting for me.
Jim, you can drop me a message as well.
But one message
I would write like you can send me a message on Slack, and we will find you also a mentor to do that.
Yeah, and yeah, so okay, sounds good. The just a feedback. I have been through design thinking concept. I think it's great, but and understand, but there's a big difference between understanding and able to apply, like
absolutely
the spot, right? That's a big difference. I mean, the concept is beautiful, and but the doing it right require iteratively practice. It's not something you can just
absolutely
read and so on, but but the effect of been through some of this workshop help you to kind of checking your thinking process, right? So you're not missing something, you're not underestimating that you're missing something, right? So I think but then to do it in a professional way is a different ball game completely.
Like everything, right? So I think we get better with practice, but we need to start somewhere. And I think there was a post, a Corona post by Brené Brown somewhere. She was writing about FFT, the F Inc. first time. So in times of crisis, we all need to start somewhere and be brave enough to make mistakes. And we are here to help. So the whole team is.
One more question, right? I think for solving coronavirus problem, we are talking about time. So how do you integrate, the time perspective or time dimension into a design thinking? Like short term, mid term, long term, and multiple factor. I don't know whether there's a template like that. Most of the time, template just try to help you to. Thinking that time is frozen, so you have all your time to solve this. But we need to think about what is the midterm, short-term delivery, midterm, long-term, and and also my background is agile DevOps. So now how to incorporate that, because of scalability in demand, right? So I know how to do that in DevOps, but then how do you represent that in design thinking? How do you represent scalability on demand in design thinking?
I would apply. Thank you so much for your question. I would apply I would apply design thinking, especially at the beginning of the process, when you need to understand what are the needs. And then you
Yes.
check in again and again with the end customer using some of the elements of the process. But if
Yes.
your background is in agile and lean management, and if you are already developing the software, then you should definitely stick to those practices. And I think they're incredibly complementary. I think you have the design thinking process at the beginning, where you
Yes.
basically, what does it help to do? So it helps you to make sure the whole team is on the same page.
Yes.
Okay, so you need this process, do at least one sprint. You know, you can do the design sprint, which is short and really like on point, but then the design sprint actually says you already know what you're solving. And what I think the design thinking is a step behind. You don't know exactly as a team what need you are solving. And this is the case many times. Like maybe one guy knows, which is completely like already very far away, and then you need to take the others on board, otherwise they will not work efficiently with you. So it helps you to put everyone on the same page. It helps you to understand what types of skills you have and to check in again and again with the end customers. And
Yep.
everything else that you have in your background, you will need to actually implement scale. Design thinking will not help you with that at all.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for what you just say, because it helped me have this picture how to complement what you just say to my
Yeah.
background. You know, because we have something like that. Once you get the customer requirement, right, which is like what you say. You know what the team has the common understanding, right? And we also have something when the team has a common understanding, common language of communication. So
Yes.
so it's very nice to see how this complementation.
Right. And also we have a thing called, I think there's one method called, what would Harry do? So if you put a customer, if you give your customer a face and a name and a personality, every time your team gets stuck, right? You should ask yourself, okay, what would Harry do? What would our customer do? Right?
Ah,
Or, you know, you name it, whatever you want to name it, Lisa, Maria, Georgios, I don't know. Okay. So make sure you have a real clear narrative about who you are serving. And of course, you will have multiple customers, not just one, but pick one just to have somebody to unstuck you when you get stuck, and to have
okay.
someone to sit with you at a table. And maybe we can have a look at the Jamboard, Elena. I think I've sent you the Jamboard link. And I can go quickly through the templates that I prepared for all of you, so you can all pick and choose the templates that you want to use.
Yes.
And I can show you quickly for what type of work which template would be helpful.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
So okay, let's.
Yeah, we'll find it in a second.
Okay, you'll find it. Then I can say something else beforehand.
Yes.
So before you start working together, I assume many of you won't know each other, or you will have some new people, new members on the team. Make sure you create roles in your team. So make sure you have one time manager. So
Yes.
someone who's always keeping track of the times. You know, it's a hackathon, it needs to be quick. Make sure you have a happiness manager. So someone who actively checks in, because you're in a virtual space, right? So someone who says, Jim, we didn't hear about you today. Tell us, how are you feeling? Or what, what is your progress? So someone
Yes.
who's really taking care of this part, because we don't have the faces, we don't have the physical language, the body language. And it's quite good to have everyone on board. And then someone who's a documenter. And that's crucial for you for the last pitch, because you might need some of the elements that you do now in telling the story of the customer and so on. You will need them for your pitch, because that will give your pitch a rich story. So you need
Yes.
a person who makes sure you have a repository where everything is really nicely organized, so you don't
Yes.
need to search for it. So these
Yes.
3 roles I would recommend every team to have. And also every team should map out what I can teach you and what I want to learn. So things that some people in the team can do really well, and things that people in the team want to learn or want to share. So you make sure also what you're missing, also important for your final pitch, right? And important for you if you want to reach out to Elad or Elena and say, okay, guys, we are missing this and this skill.
Yeah.
Daniela, I just want to tell you one thing. I just shared the board that you shared with us to all attendees and panelists.
Cool.
I think it would be good if you share your screen. Can you share your screen? So then you can also go through it as you want and basically show it as you want.
Yes, I can. Look,
okay.
I can.
All right,
Great.
awesome. And then I'll let you, and if you need anything, ping me. I'll be here. Just muting
Great.
and closing my video. Okay, see you in a bit.
Okay, so I think can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see. I can see.
And everyone else, can you write us a short yes in the chat room?
And also one thing I see, there's also, I think, apart from Jim Show, there's some people here, just so you know, that have made some comments, Daniela, about your 1 to 5 scale. I don't know if you've seen them. So there's actually Orestes who said also 1. I said 3. Maria said 1. So I think there's like Atun. Okay, no, they can say. Okay, I see it fine. So basically, they I think there's
Okay.
also like a lot of people here who are still don't know much about design thinking.
Yes.
So you know, there's
A lot of one. Okay.
Yeah, guys, also feel free to speak if you have a question. I unmuted everyone, so you can have a fruitful discussion.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're here to support, but letting Daniela take the stage. Kisses, bye.
Okay, so since many of you are one, I will try to slow down the pace a bit. So the video, I really recommend you to watch it just to see a little bit historical evolution of this designerly way of thinking. I think one thing that you can keep in mind: why would we even want to think like designers? Or to design our thinking in a way that it's more human-centered, right? So it can be think like a designer or design your thinking. And I like the second one. So you basically force and design your thinking to be slow, to be fast, and to be very, very much user and human-centered. So one quote that I really like about it's from Ariel Sarin, and that's an architect from 100 years ago. And this is a principle of architects and designers that applies to design thinking. And it says, always design a chair in a room in a house in a neighborhood, and a neighborhood in a city. So what design thinking helps you is to understand the next bigger context. So if you will design an app for someone in a rural area, in a country where, let's say, people, the coverage is really bad, and your app is only, needs a big bandwidth or something, then it's pretty clear you didn't research a lot about the context. If you design, let's say, a hacked 3D printed health device for a ventilator in Germany, and it's pretty clear you didn't research the fact that it's not allowed here to use anything that is not that doesn't have the regulatory requirements. So this type of really good research, but also understanding the context in which you will use, or your user will use your solution, is crucial. And what I like most, I don't say I agree with it from a data privacy perspective, but one good example is how clever this smartwatch and apps that track your velocity have made their way into your Nike shoe. Okay, so you don't even need to opt in, you need to now opt out. And in your everyday life, and in your everyday journey of your life, this application just fits in so smoothly that it's really hard for you not to use it. Okay, so this is the type of context you need to understand. So always design a chair in a room in a house in a neighborhood in a city, and then it all kind of makes sense and integrates smoother together. And with this, I will show you the very, very first template that It's here for you. Again, like I said in the last webinar from the last hackathon, these templates are from Elisava University of Barcelona for Design and Engineering, and they are from a master course that myself and Professor Jorge Rodriguez have been leading 3 weeks ago in the middle of the crisis, and our students used it for the introduction to design thinking. So this first map is basically a context map, and it helps you. You can see here in the Gymboard, you have the possibility to use sticky notes. I would recommend you to have different color of sticky notes, and let's say if you want to say, okay, we are going to map the environmental context, the political context, the legal context of our problem, we will use different colors, okay? Because we want to track back. Remember, the documenter wants to track back everything that you've mapped. And here, yes? Oh, you need to unmute your phone. Okay, another thing, please do not use this Jamboard. So copy it and paste it in your own, okay? Because otherwise everyone will see what you're doing in it. Make sure with your team that everybody knows how to use this Google Jamboard. If someone on your team is really good at using Miro or Mural or some other type of online brainstorming tool, then use that, okay? So take always that someone is acquainted with, and don't learn new tools. If someone on your team is really good at using Miro, then you can take these templates and put them in Miro. Okay, so I would really urge you at the beginning to make a small context map, so you make sure that everybody understands the context of your challenge. What are the main actors, the secondary actors? What type of uncertainties do you have? What is missing to support your challenge, and what's the economic climate? And you can add some other things that might be relevant for your challenge, okay? Another thing that you can do here for the actors, you can do even deeper mapping of stakeholders. What are important stakeholders for your challenge? So it's not only the end user, but maybe also in the supply chain, some other people in the supply chain that are important for your challenge, and map them out, all of them. What we are doing with this mapping and with the sticky notes is basically making tacit knowledge explicit. Many of you assume that the others on the team have the same knowledge, but we don't. We all have different knowledges and different backgrounds, okay? So make it as explicit and take time for it. So I would recommend you to look at this board, take 2 minutes for silent brainstorming, where everyone writes down on maybe on a paper, their ideas, and then you start putting them digitally on the board, and you start ordering them and clustering them. And then you discuss, okay? So always take 2 minutes silently, and then maybe 5 minutes discussing. Here, the timekeeper is really important, because the timekeeper needs to keep, to make sure that people will not discuss 2 hours about who are the stakeholders. So it's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's about what type of knowledge do we have in this group, and how can we map it so we better understand our unique point of view to solve this problem. The third template that I would like to show you is a template called persona. So this would be your user. You know, if you are into software development, you have like these user journeys, right? So who is your most prominent user? You can also choose the most difficult user. You can use a very edgy user, someone that you cannot reach, but you really want to reach, or someone who is like an extreme user, okay? So you can play around with this a little bit. And here in the center, please go in the internet and search for a picture of that user, okay? So a picture says more than 1,000 words, okay? So is it a, 60-year-old white male British man, or is it a 75-year-old Greek grandma? Okay, put a picture, maybe with a background, so we understand something of the context of that person, and then be specific. What does the person see? What does the person say? What are typical sentences of this person? What are typical things that they do in their everyday life? We want to know that because we want our solution to fit very smoothly in what they do anyway in their everyday life. Okay, we don't want to overwhelm people even more through the channels by which we deliver our solutions. So this is why we map this early enough. It might feel silly, but do it. It's really fun. And you can do, of course, normally you do like a really deep research on that if you have like 6 months or a year. Right now, you will use what we say proto persona. So it's more the stuff that you assume from more like your stereotypes, or from a very superficial research that you've done, but it helps you to understand the assumptions again of your team to make sure you're on the same page. What type of sentences does the person hear? What do they feel and think? What do they empathize with, and what's their goal? So what's the job they need to solve? What is their biggest pain at the moment? Once you've done this, you can, okay, this is the another template where you have the stakeholder mapping. If you're not acquainted with this stakeholder maps, it doesn't go up. I don't know why. It's basically a circle, and in the center you have used the 3 circles to position the stakeholders according to the type of relationship with the project, right? So in the center you have the really most important people to your project, either because they are in suppliers, or they are the buyers, or they are the users, or they are the decision makers. So without them, your project will not even be allowed to exist. Okay, and then with the concentric circles on the periphery, you will have people who are not so important, but they might be relevant, and you will map them out as well. This will be important also when you do the business model and so on. You will need all these type of people. And then we have something, I'm sorry, this order is not really correct. So this number 2 actually goes later. It should be at number 5. So when you have your unique point of view, the person that you think you want to serve, the persona, remember the 74-year-old Greek grandma, or the 50-year-old white British man who lives in London, and so on and so forth. Then you want to wonder, what exactly am I trying to help this person to do? Okay, so you can use this how might we question. We use the how might we question because the conjunction helps us to understand that we are exploring opportunities. Okay, how might we help this person track the contacts she or he had in order to prevent them from having the virus or not? Okay, or how might we help healthcare managers better understand the supply of masks they already have in their hospital? And how might we says, okay, we know we might not have the perfect solution, but we are trying. And by asking this question, it allows you to go a step back and iterate again. So make sure you use this language that allows you to iterate, to make mistakes. It's actually what Sam said. Okay, this is a long-term project. So if in your language you apply, you already assume that you won't have the perfect solution, that will help you to take out some pressure also from your team. Another template that I think might be really useful for you when you try to understand better the journey of the person. Let's say you're trying to help a nurse or someone in the front line. Try to walk in their shoes and understand their a day in their lives. Okay, so what type of touch points do they have with the problem? What is their emotional status? And make sure you have all these steps. So from getting to the workplace, maybe beforehand, like what types of fear do I have before I go to the hospital? Am I, if I'm in Spain at the moment, I might just get a call and then somebody tells me you need to go to that hospital, and maybe on the way there I'm already scared because I don't know, will I have the equipment for protection or not? Then I get there and maybe it's maybe chaotic because the management doesn't work really well, and then and so forth. So what type of moments do I have? And what type of touch points do I have with this problem? It will help you to better understand a day in the life of your customer. You can also, and I'm sure if you're into software development, many of you know this tool, this customer journey or user journey map. You will use it, of course, when you want to improve, the user experience with your digital product. Then you have the different touch points, the digital touch points with your product, and you analyze how good they are and how user friendly they are in terms, of usability, of intuitivity, and so on. So this CGM, customer journey map, you can use it for various reasons depending on your project's evolution. When you still are in the phase of brainstorming ideas, it really helps before doing all these brainstorming sessions where everybody puts in maybe some digital post-it notes on Jamboard or on Miro. It really helps when you decide on one or two ideas to elaborate better. So what you could do here is, let's say you have like 20 or 30 ideas about one aspect of your solution. Then you could vote, which is really easy to make in a digital environment. Zoom has some voting stuff. You have online voting tools. So you could vote and say, okay, the 5 of us or 10 of us in our group are voting for the idea that we want to make a minimal viable product to pitch at the end of this hackathon. And then elaborate a little bit more. Give the idea a name, give a general description, write down what type of information, experience, and resources do we need to implement this idea? Do we have them in our group? Because remember, we only have this short time of the hackathon right now. And what objectives of the challenge does this idea correspond to? And this will help you evaluate if you want to continue spending your time on this idea, which is a short time in a hackathon environment, or if you should better go to another idea, even if most of you have voted for this one. Okay, so this is a really powerful tool to evaluate if you should put an effort in creating a minimal viable product of one aspect, because it's really good in your pitch if you have something that's already a bit more elaborated. So obviously you will not have the whole solution finished after this hackathon, but if you have a small aspect of it already somehow prototyped, that will convince even more. This is another tool that you can use, if you guys are stuck and everyone's like, I don't have any other ideas, I don't know. And again, because Paula talked about the book Thinking Fast and Slow, I think it's in this book that Daniel Kahneman talks about this, what's cognitive available to you. So if you in your group, and let's say the 5 of you are maybe similar peers, brought up in the same country or having the same background, probably you will come up with the same ideas, okay? Slightly different. Then force yourself, and the timekeeper is important here. Give yourself 2 more minutes. By the way, timekeeper, you are basically using your phone all the time to stop the time, and the bell should ring really loud because people have to stop when you say stop. So you have the power, the time police power. So give yourself 2 more minutes just to really stretch a bit your brain and go beyond what's cognitively available to you. And this is a good template where you basically have it's called lotus blossom. So you have one idea in the center, and let's say you want to elaborate and stretch it even more. So from this idea, the team elaborates 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 8 more. And then from this, you can elaborate even more and even more. Remember, you will use one post-it per idea and stretch it and make it really, it can be a moonshot idea, really something crazy in this phase where you want to stretch your creativity. What else do we have? I put you another canvas here, number 8. This is a scenario canvas. So basically here you are quite ready to test out if you would plan this idea and if you would actually build up this startup, this company, this solution, what would you need, right? So what's your customer? What are the key stakeholders? What's the timeline of activities until implementation? This is something crucial, you know, if you need investors or something. What are the identified opportunities? So this is something that if in your team you have someone with a strong business development skills, they could also take care of this canvas. Another thing in a hackathon, which is really important, is make sure at the beginning that you've mapped out the type of skills that you have in the team, and that you also divide tasks, right? So if you're 6 people or 8 people, and 1 or 2 are really good at business development, and the other ones are really good at creating new paths and new ideas, and the other ones are maybe more customer centric because they have experience in the field, maybe they work in that field, then divide up these canvases, have people meet in small chat rooms. You can make small Google Hangouts and say, okay, but make sure about the timing. Again, time police, time police, time police. So make sure you say, okay, guys, we meet in 15 minutes back in the main chat room. And now you take this canvas, you take this canvas, and we meet back. And then we have 3 minutes to share what we came up with, okay, and to vote. So this was the scenario canvas. Oh my God, I put you so many canvases in it. Good. So this one, I really like it. Now, okay, you are in the process already here in a blue zone. So we started in a red zone where you understand the challenge. You observe the users in a customer journey map. You observe the type of behaviors your user will have and where you can integrate your idea. You create a point of view, that is the persona that you build up, right? Then you ideate, that's the blossom thing that you did, and the idea card. And with the scenario, you actually already prototyped. Oh my God, this Zoom thing doesn't work really well. So the purple thing is the prototyping, where you actually make a scenario and you already prototype to pitch it to an investor. And the last one, the darkest purple, is actually you're pretty done with one cycle of the iteration. But you see the lines, so you don't have to skip one step after the other. Is not linear. You can jump the steps in between, okay? It's just a structure to give you some guidance. But since you're all a one, please just follow this structure. So this test card is deep purple. Let's say you already have, you know, maybe made a small mock-up of your idea. Your idea is quite clear. And then you want to test it, ideally, with your end user. Okay, so if your end user is an elderly, you know, that is a risk group, or your end user is someone in healthcare, or your end user is an innovation manager from a hospital, or, you know, a government representative, then you would want to approach that person and test your assumptions, okay? And to do that, before you call that person, maybe you know someone in your friends, you know, or you will just Google an email address or a phone number and tell them, guys, we're in this hackathon and this is what we came up with and this is a solution for you. Can I call you just to make sure we're not on the wrong path? Okay, do that. Before you talk to the user, write down your hypothesis. We believe that. To verify that, we will talk to this person. And this is how we measure if we were right or not. By the way, don't ask your user, am I right that you need this and that? Okay, it doesn't work like that. So make sure that you give the click dummy or send it to the user. Make sure that you analyze in a more subtle way if they got it right. You can expose them to something, and if you see their face is like, what is this? Or their face is like, oh, this is exactly what I need, then your assumptions were right. Okay, so make sure when you do the user test, you don't ask the user, do you like it? That's a no-goer. And then you have the learning card where you document what came out of the user tests. Number 11, well, that's a business model canvas. I'm not sure you will get that far. Probably that's going to be in the next round when you will search for investors. That's pretty powerful when you already, put some revenue streams, some cost structures, and you go for investors. I will leave this template here for you because you might just need it later on in the process. Not sure for this hackathon. Again, this is another learning card where you can use it. This one you can use it if you want to create your pitch for the final day of the hackathon. So make sure you have a clear storyboard. If you will use PowerPoint presentation, just take like 9 slides where you have a clear story of what you're going to say, what you're going to highlight, what are things where you still need help, maybe you need guidance, mentorship, or another team member, and make sure the documenter role is really important, that you take notes. So when the presenter, whoever of you is a good presenter, will pitch the idea, the others will not just stand there and listen. You will take notes because you want to improve it and you want to take it further. So again, a template to help you do that, to help you structure your notes. And yeah, I think that's it. I think it was only 13. I will stop sharing my screen now and open up to some Q&As because it's already quite late. And at the same time, just to not stress out, you don't need to use all of that. Okay, it's an offer. You can use these things to structure your thinking, to test out, and if you face any type of challenges, or your team has some conflicts about how to use these challenges, you can reach out through the Slack channel in a private message.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Anyone has any questions from the audience? There is a Q&A. Yes, Jim, excellent. Please write a book on how to use design thinking to fight COVID-19.
Jim, I'm currently having 2 books that are unfinished. So yes, in my next live.
Yeah, no, don't wait for next live. I think, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jim. Yeah.
Yes. No, I when I hear you talk about customer journey, product journey, apply that to nurses in the hospital. I think this is really we need this now. We need to be able to apply this mindset, because there's a lot of gap between people who can write software, people who can do technology, right? People maybe can have some business, but if they have not have one-to-one, face-to-face with patient, they could not imagine how to apply their skill set to this. They have no chance, right? Yes. This is the problem. I mean, you have all this health industry, pharma industry, they have excellent data scientists, they're excellent scientists. As long as they have not have one-to-one experience with patient, how they talk, how they what kind of information needed in order to make them compliant, engaged. Right? These are the most critical part in the bottleneck in all the health industry. This is really downstream in the value chain of product development for pharma and healthcare, right? And those people upstream has no clue at all, right? And so start this book, right?
Yes, I agree, and we've been, so with my company we have a innovation consultancy called ChangeDare.com, because we want to dare people to change their perspective.
Yes.
We want to dare people to change, to fail and succeed. So you need a lot of courage to do
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
because you cannot measure it. So if you're a scientist, you or a business-minded person, you know technology is reliable, is predictable, and if you're a business person, you know numbers, you know you can always manipulate numbers in a way that it gives you some planning safety. And what designers do and what design thinking brings into the equation is precisely managing the uncertainty. And
Yes.
to me, it's quite clear that in times of crisis, we need much more of this mindset, and we need much more of this skill set, and much more of these people that can create these bridges and that can um, uh, manage uncertainty in a way that this ambiguity is not killing us, but it's basically making us thrive and be more creative. And this is a type of skill set that sometimes designers have, but I've seen a lot of engineers who intuitively have this skill set. And what I like about design thinking is that it helps you structure it and communicate about it, even if you do it intuitively.
Yes. So I just like that word, right? In times of crisis, right? Some people come forward and strive. And this is exactly the perfect time now. It's crisis. People are dying. It's very sad. But this is the perfect time to change the paradigm, how you make things better, identify the gaps and addressing the gap. This is the time. This is the time. The gap are become so transparently now. Now apply all your creativity, skill, everything to address this gap. And hackathon is a place to make this gap transparent and everybody work together.
I can tell you, Jim, my community, and I'm happy we have here Mike, because he's a big enthusiast also. How enthusiastic you can be in times of a global crisis, I don't know. But we are a small group of people that basically are enthusiastic about the way how crisis trigger creativity, how crisis really make these gaps transparent, and you renegotiate the contracts.
Exactly.
This is
So I have so much to tell you and share with you, but I also know what I share will frighten 99.9% of the people, right? Because we are thriving at this crisis. We are not the normal, but we are trying to apply our skill set to the new normality, right? So Daniela and Mike Richardson, we will bring the discussion to some other place, and I really have some experience to tell you why I end up joining this hackathon. And I saw the problem back in mid of January, and I've been iteratively business canvas model iteratively till now.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you.
That was very interesting.
You couldn't hear me. Sorry, I was on mute.
Is Jim still here? Is Jim still online, who was presenting?
Yeah, I'm still here, but I will frighten people if I talk too much.
Well, I'm gonna just hi, I'm Mike. By the way, I don't think you are frightening people. You're actually exhilarating me, because it seems that you have a very good grasp of the criticality of the situation. So I just want to share with you, I don't think you're going to scare people. I think you're going to enlighten and inspire.
Thank you.
Like what Daniela talked about, design thinking, about all this gaps, and like what I say about in pharma and in healthcare, all this super highly skilled professional upstream of the value chain, preclinical, right? They have never face to face with a patient. How can you create? Right. So I went through this. I took the risk. I'm from preclinical. I went through the risk. I spent time with patients, and so my plan is to come up with technology that shorten the gap, that bring clinical closer to face.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, just because like Daniela has to go. Let us just thank.
Yes. That's why I said I cannot talk. I talk frightened
No,
people.
it's okay. It's okay. I just saw her message, and I would love to like for her to say bye to us. Actually, not only on Messenger but also tell us bye. It was a pleasure having you, Daniela. Thank you so much for being here, and very nice how it started talking about systemic change, and really looking forward to. I just shared your slides. You have the email here.
Great.
We will
And I'm
definitely.
looking forward to doing more of this with cities, with municipalities, with everyone who's going to be on the front line after the doctors and the nurses finish their job. We are all going to be the front line, and we need to prepare. It's our responsibility to have a good crisis response in place and to practice all this digital collaboration and all this interdisciplinary collaboration early enough to be able to face the avalanche that's going to come. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Daniela.
Thank you, Daniela.
Soon. So we have also, guys, don't leave. Actually, I don't know if you were ready to leave, but we have another session happening now. We have a session for the CTO from 2 CTOs. Vasilis Kambouris here. Actually, you can also switch to Greek for the Greek speakers if they want to have a session in Greek. And then Mike here, also another CTO. They're gonna walk us through the available tools what they're working on, potentially answer any questions from anyone here that might have. I know that Jim, you're overly enthusiastic. Maybe you want to be the one starting with the question.
Yeah, so let me, guys, I would promote all of you to be panelists. It would take a second, and then basically you can also show yourself so we can understand who is here and from which team, so we can get to know you guys better.
Awesome. Okay, maybe
So
Mike.
who's gonna? Yeah, you should. Who's gonna start? It's gonna be Mike or me.
Yeah, Vasily, start. Tell us.
Hello guys. Obviously, I'm Vasilis Kambouris. I don't know. Can you hear me or see me? I'm not sure.
Yes, both. We can hear you and see you. Yes.
So I'm a chief technology officer, actually, in one company in New York, and in the second one, I'm a senior DevOps engineer in Florida, Miami. I'm going to be here to help you with any kind of questions you have and support maybe the teams or this hackathon itself on tools and maybe blocks they have during the process of maybe deployments, whatever it is. I can help them also with code. I can be a mentor generally and maybe help you guys to find the right tools and decide what you can use no matter what. Anyway, that's what I have to say, and this is who I am now. Right now, I worked as an engineer all of my life, mostly. I have experience of 10-something years. So feel free to ask me anything you want, and I'm going to be here for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Vasily. Mike.
Oh, that's tough. That's going to be a tough one to match. Wow, what an honor to have someone as gifted as Vasily with us, sharing his knowledge. So, what am I? I have a company, Photonic Insights. I design and build low-cost spectrographic instruments that use near-infrared spectroscopy for materials analysis. But this is a hackathon. How can I help you all with a hackathon? I have a lot of experience with hackathon and organizing hackathons, specifically focused on healthcare. So I'm available here to help out as a mentor, and I like to coach teams. Not coach teams to direct you what to do. I'm here to answer questions and share my experience freely. I really enjoy supporting teams in hackathons. I believe this is where creativity comes from, and it's a way to demonstrate to the world how we as technologists are able to add value and help out with this crisis as we're redrawing how the world works. If you have specific questions about hardware devices, I can help with that. If you have questions about biotech, I can help with that. If you have questions about EIT or European Community funding and how to write your proposals properly, I can help with that. Now, why would that help during a hackathon? Because when you're in the hackathon, you want to be thinking about the end, right? You're going to have a great project. You may win the hackathon, right? What are you going to do afterwards? Well, afterwards, you're chasing money. So what I'm sharing with you is, as you're engaging in this experience and you're building something great, don't think of it ending just at the hackathon. Think of that it's only the beginning.
Thank you so much. Oh, wait, where is it? Oh, you can hear me, right? Thank you so much, Mike, both Vasilis and Mike. We have a lot of people here as well. I know Jim has been very verbal and communicative. I see here Mike Xenakis that I haven't seen before. And also this Harapa Georgiou, who hasn't joined as an attendee. I don't know if she doesn't want to join because she doesn't want to show her face to us. But you can speak, Hara, if you want to. So here there's these two guys. They're both they can both be very helpful in different things. We can also, by the way, switch to Greek if you prefer.
No Greek.
No Greek. No Greek. Jim, I know. But in general, we can switch to Greek for the Greek people. And anyway, like essentially, like Mike and Vasilis, you're both here. Maybe what we can do is, I would suggest to start this way. Maybe we can review the challenges and specifically because you were saying, Mike, you have such an experience with hardware solutions, and I know because we worked together in our previous hackathon as well. You're part of Fraunhofer, you were part of Hacking Health Berlin. And basically, I was thinking maybe you can tell us a little bit about how can anyone, if there's since there's an open source hardware solution challenge, how can a person who might be in that, review it? And by the way, we also have here Lina Nikolopoulou, who is also from our organizational team, and she's from eHealth Forum, also actually from Hacking Health in Athens. And perhaps we can also have a discussion together about the challenges and how, from a tech perspective, Mike specifically on the hardware, Vasilis specifically on the software, we can look throughout all of these challenges and think about technologies. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. In fact, I'm opening up my tablet right now so I can review these challenges on a second screen as we discuss them. Yeah, absolutely. So, if you want me to go into open source hardware, I can start right now. That what I would suggest for people that are engaging in this is to do something different. There's a lot of open source effort for making bag assist devices. Okay, so unless you would be ready to show something to the judging panel that is actually physically working, what I'm sharing is if you're going to go along the bag assist route, you should have something ready to show, because what's going on in the world is people have working prototypes of these bag assist devices. So that's just one thing I'm sharing. If you're going to go down that road, strongly advise that on Sunday, or when does this end? Is it in Sunday, Elena, or is it Monday?
Ends on Sunday, yes.
Ends on Sunday, that you actually have something that can push an ambu bag. If you're going to do something creative and not like that, be ready to give a good backstory. So is this helpful information, Elena? Is this what you're looking for the team?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so let's say, I'll just do something a little more esoteric. Let's say you have a 3D printer and you have an engineer in Greece and you want to design extra valves for ventilators, if you're going along that vein, right? That's not really a sexy thing. It might not get the judges' attention, so it's important for you to explain the criticality of this, that you would show, here is a valve. Oh, why is that important? Have the story ready to explain why your open hardware innovation is important and unique. If you are opting for making personal protective equipment, right, as open hardware, maybe a respiratory mask, really determine how much of an immediate impact what you are making will have. So this is based on experience in other hackathons that with the open hardware, that there are a lot of solutions being created, and it's wonderful to see these, but I would implore you to focus on what's going to help people in Greece immediately, quickly. And if you're not going to have an immediate solution, then be able to articulate how what you are doing is going to help either a week from now or a month from now or 3 months from now. So time box what you're developing and when it's going to be able to help with the open hardware. The other thing I would add is don't worry about it being perfect. Just have something that works good enough and be ready to, frankly, script and make it so you're showing us what works and not exposing what doesn't work. Have a little bit of theatrics here. Any judge, anyone who's evaluating your work product for making open hardware is going to know there's not too much you can do in a weekend. Even if you're printing things, right? My God, how long does it take to get a 3D print? Okay? So people who are evaluating will understand this, but also work with it. Try to be spectacular. Are there any questions?
Or any other comments, perhaps from Vasilis or Lina or anyone else that want to say anything? Mr. Zizakis or anyone who's here and they want to comment on the open source hardware? What do you think, Lina?
Well, I think people should try to be convincing that they have a real solution in their mind that makes an impact. And even if it is not perfect, it has not to be flawed. Because if something seems to work, they will have time and resources to make it work. And they have also to be realistic. You have to be realistic. If you say, I need 1 week, it's a week. It's not a month, it's not a year. Because judges can know, they can feel. And you also need to address real problem areas, not because you have a good solution for something, but this something is not so important. Because what we are aiming at now is to really address the pain points of the system. And some theatrical also is very good. It's true.
Yeah. What I would add to this is that, for example, people making devices to help with intubation. So if you're an engineer, making an electromechanical device like a bag assist is something that may be more appealing. But actually, if you were going to make something that would make a difference immediately, these shielding devices for intubation that I've seen coming out, like that's an example of something that you built it in Greece, you could go to a hospital and deliver it and they could use it. Whereas something that's like a bag assist device or something that's a direct medical that's interfacing with the patient, no matter how much a clinician wants it, they might be a little cautious because clinicians deal with patients. So when you're thinking of an open hardware like a solution, keep this in mind. Oh, perfect. This is how we can do it in Greek. Yeah, we can do it in bilingual. Beautiful.
Yes, so this is like how you can see, like actually now the challenge is in Greek. And we just started talking about the open source hardware one that you just talked about, Mike.
Yeah.
Perhaps Vasilis, you can tell us a little bit about the challenge number 3, which is about now I cannot think of the word in English. Maybe Lina, you can help me.
Telemedicine. Telemedicine. I'm reading along.
Ooh, okay, telemedicine. There you go. Telemedicine. Okay, Vasilis, maybe you can jump in here and provide some ideas on, like, from a technical standpoint, how can the participants resolve this challenge? And if you want, we can look at more. This is like the more text about it.
Do we have it in English?
Yes, of course we do. I just thought maybe we should do it in Greek so that whoever wants to.
Okay, fine. Okay, yes.
So we can do it bilingually because we're speaking.
Yes, of course.
Sorry. Oh, I did. Okay, there you go. Because we're speaking bilingually, we can show it in Greek. But Vasilis, you can read Greek.
Yeah, of course I can. So about how you said it, telemedicine.
Telemedicine.
Telemedicine. This is the name. Oh yeah, I didn't quite know the actual terminology. Anyway, so
well, telematics as well, but telemedicine is when you want to just provide medical services.
I see. It's the specific. Yeah, I see. So Now, there is, once again, I will say the same thing I'm saying. There is nothing in software engineer that's cannot be done. And as Lena said, Mrs. Lena said, is that actually you have to be realistic. You can do and provide anything you want, and you can build anything you can imagine. For me, it's especially with the technologies we have right now and the stacks we are using. You can physically, you can do anything you want. Now, we have to be realistic. Once again, the one option can be, for instance, using chatbots of doing something, or using a couple of tools to actually check patients that they need a medical assistant. Because for what I found out, for instance, a problem I see right now is happening that a patient might be suspicious COVID-19 problem, but they will send him at home, and they know he's not going to be hospitalized. Maybe there we can do something to fix that problem. For instance, because there is a problem, he's going to be he should be in the hospital, but he's going to be at his home. As you can see, I think we had a couple of people that died because of that. I think, but this is what they do right now. I think by the time a person goes to the hospital with fever and other suspicious, how you call it? Sorry, my screen go off. They send him at home. So maybe this is where this part can take place. There is insane amounts of tools right now, but they're super expensive for telemedicine. And this is what I have to say. So we have to be realistic once again and think a couple of issues we can solve with small, easy steps. I can be developed and be hosted, deployed easily. This is what I have to say. And maybe.
What kind of technology would you suggest for this kind of stuff, for this kind of challenge? Is there something that you think that would?
There's lots of the tools are unlimited, from open source, or with minor costs. You can create anything you want. For instance, even a chatbot can help you and stuff like that with automations, or even an AI with a chat box that actually understands a couple of questions and produce a result. But that's, for instance, how to give a couple of steps. Maybe a doctor can say, if somebody's, do we have sufficient information what a self-quarantine person will do, or how a self-quarantine person can reach a doctor? Because I found out, again, a friend of mine, I saw a post in Facebook. He tried to call this service. It was a telephone center. I don't remember the name of the one they have right now. And he was waiting 2 hours in the phone. So, and he did AOD. That's the name. Yeah, that's the name. So he called AOD, and he was waiting for 2 hours, and he ended up closing the phone. So I assume this fails right now. Maybe it's lots of people that are going there. Anyway, we can think maybe new processes, maybe new steps in between till you go to LV, or I don't know, till you go to the doctor, or maybe a connection between a specific doctor or lots of doctors to manage that that communication in between them.
If I can add to what Vasilis said, we have a specific challenge that addresses that particular issue. The call center overflows, and the waiting time is quite long. And one of the challenges we raised for this hackathon is to connect in a network those call centers of municipalities and prefectures that are receiving calls from the citizens on different issues, sometimes also medical issues, and take some of the burden of LV by, building a specific, a structured routine questions that redirect citizens to medical doctors. So this is quite a challenge for our system. It's there, and we really need good, creative solutions, how to connect all those call centers in, in a hub. And as far as, but this is a challenge, I think, I don't remember something. It has a different, this is number 2, yes. And telemedicine is just to keep people away from hospitals with and stay home, not to be exposed. But also yesterday, for example, in the news, Professor Stefanadis, who is a professor of cardiology in Athens, said that we have 50% less reports of heart disease and heart failure, heart attacks. And this pattern is the same in the UK, in Spain, in the States. Why? Because people are afraid to go to the hospitals. What does it mean? It means that afterwards, when we are going back to the community to measure morbidity, we will find out that we have lost many people, not from COVID, but from other chronic diseases. And this is one imperative reason why we have to set up better our telemedicine services.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you very much. Mike, what is your take on this?
Oh, Dr. Lina, I mean, first of all, some of these challenges here are absolutely some of the best I've seen out of recent hackathons, because they are very focused with clear outcomes. So thank you so much, anyone who's involved with this. So what I think about this is I'm looking at first of all, the challenges, let's go to the National Call Center Network, right? This is the one that Lina was trying to get this to open up. That is a very interesting challenge, and you could have a real world impact like within days after the hackathon. Is that what you're thinking? So what I would suggest for this is that anyone who's going to take on this challenge, this also provides a really good presentation that you can have people playing each one of the roles, and you're able to demonstrate how your solution works. So I wouldn't worry, in my opinion, I wouldn't worry about having that well coded. I would have the idea, I would focus more on a scalable idea. Because if you have the idea that works, that has decent decent technical elements to support this National Call Center Network unification, right, bringing together information, I'm sure the Greek government and the people will provide the resources that were needed, as was stated at the beginning of this effort. So my opinion is, based on my experience, don't worry as much about the code working. Like Vasilis is saying, we've got lots of tools. We can fix that for you. Have a very clear idea. Think how it's going to scale. Think about how you're going to solve this very well-defined problem. It's so lucky to be in a hackathon that has well-defined problems that can be solved. So you want to ask about that one, Elena? I think that one's great. But then I started looking at challenge 1 and the 3 components. My God, these are beautiful. I'm looking at the real-time supply chain of COVID-19 diagnostic tests. Again, these look like very technical solutions, and they are, but really have a big idea and think about how you're going to implement it. Like, reach out to Vasilis, right? He would be the person to ask, hey, I've got this idea, have it thought out. Think of it, an idea that you would present to a coding shop, right? Think of it like in those terms. If you don't have the full development resources to generate the solution, think, well, I'm going to have a solution. I'm going to take it to Boston Consulting Group, and they're going to make something happen for me. Think of it like that. And that's my suggestion. So if you can't code the real-time supply chain, visualize the problems in Greece and how you would solve it.
So you think that localization is very important, basically, Mike, in actually like...
Critical. we've got big corporations that want to throw out global solutions, but the way we're going to solve Corona is by local solutions and local wisdom. And then we'll look at, the world will look. So let's, yeah, absolutely. The more Greek flavored it is, the better. Even though there's people participating from around the world, you know, it's from that local flavor that we may stumble across something that's going to solve the problem for all of us.
Thank you so much, Mike, for your contribution. Vasilis, do you want to jump on another challenge, or perhaps talk about something specific? I know in our call we also talked about chatbots, which was related to one of the challenges. That actually is probably like a solution here, what you were saying before, that the call centers, right? So how can we, like, if there's like a lot of waiting time during the call, like on the call centers, and people are isolated and getting impatient, the best methodology would be to create a tool, a software solution that will provide them with the answers they're looking for automated. So they don't have to wait too much. They don't have to talk, like, you know, they don't have to be impatient about it, and they get most of the responses they're looking for. So I would say like a chatbot is a good idea, perhaps, to think about in this challenge when we're talking about a technological solution. What other suggestions would you recommend? Well, how can we, for example, unite the different call centers so that we can centralize the information and we don't have to look for the data here and there?
Hey, so I'm 100% agree with Mike. He's 100% on point. The idea, because now you're talking, it's like asking me the idea. I haven't thought about it thoroughly, so I cannot give you something right now. So we have lots of challenges there. All of the challenges are on point. So I wouldn't be so much. For instance, I wouldn't focus so much on the telephone center. We have so many challenges that actually we can deal with right now. Yes, one of them, maybe I said it for the chat box, but I thought you had also a challenge with chat boxes. No, I'm not sure, because I remember I saw something. But anyway, with the telephone centers, yes, you're right. Maybe we can create a chat box system in quotes, because it can be lots of things. I haven't thought thoroughly the idea. It's my first day here, so but we have lots of things we can check also with the real time. The real time. Can you go on the first challenge, please? The real time beds, something like that.
The real-time bed is the first challenge, I believe.
Is the first challenge, yeah. So
it's about like
that,
supply chain and essentially like the availability of beds.
I'm not, to be honest, I said chat boxes, but most of the times I'm not so fond on them, because they do not provide actually a solution to a specific problem. I just said one just for the communication. I think nobody likes to talk to a bot, and nobody likes to wait and talk to a machine. They prefer the human interaction, or something that it was made to help the actual persons that actually work there. For instance, nurses, doctors, or even the patient. This is the first people you want and care. But anyway, chatbox, I cannot give you right now an idea, because I haven't thought something good enough to support right now. I have to read, I have to think, but the thing is, the idea should be solid, robust, scalable, realistic, and maybe I'm going to be the last guy, or maybe or Mike, that actually we're going to say, yeah, that's realistic, we can build that. If we have the idea and somebody has a block to do it, we can actually say, yes, we can deliver and implement this idea. The thing is, the idea has to be robust, and we have lots of challenges that actually are helping us, because they are on point. Most of the times in the hackathons, you have an open a very open subject and topic, this is very specific. That's a good thing. That's what I have to say.
Anyone else from the audience would like to chip in and ask any questions or make any comments?
Can you all hear me?
Yes, Jim.
Yes. Okay, good. So I'm glad I get to speak and I get to hear all the expert here. And I think I'm a team captain of one of the core. My focus is the fact that this pandemic will happen in wave, right? So first wave, China is facing second wave, and who knows, we might have a third wave. So I've been thinking about a solution that is deployable on demand, right? That is very important for scalability, not only in time. That is like first wave, you will need a lot of this service. By the time come to second wave, you might need less. So you are able to just scale, reduce on demand, right? And if you're talking about this in a geographical perspective, so you could imagine certain part in Greece are having a lot of problems, right? So you scale out this service. And then later on, when it spread to another city, and then you can just redistribute the resource to the other city. And the city that has a lot of problem previously has reduced. So the solution must be scale in demand in terms of geography and in terms of time, right? And the most important part I like is that local wisdom and also call center. And all this is only possible when people are in a proper mental state. They are positive, you know. They are able to come together, think about local wisdom, local solution, contribute to the local solution. And exactly, chatbot is not the time people want to talk to right now. People want to talk to people who are positive. And so the mental state, the capital of the resource to solve this problem is how many people you have that are positive, that can contribute, that are ready to receive a call. I think this is a very major capital. And my solution is all about building up this mental capital resources in Greece. And that's what I'm doing.
Good. That's good.
Thank you so much for contributing. Anyone else? Any other teams here? Mike Xenakis, or I can also see another gentleman here. I cannot see your name, unfortunately. Anyone else would like to say anything? Or ask a question or make a comment? Γεια σας. Θέλει κάποιος άλλος να μας ρωτήσει τίποτα μήπως ή να συνεισφέρει στη συζήτηση? Right, people are shy, I think. Or all their questions are answered. Mike, Vasilis, do you want to add anything else? Or Lina?
Oh, we'd really like to get some dialogue if anyone's shy out there. Like, a great question to ask us here is, like, what do winning entries look like?
That's a good question. Maybe answer it, Mike. Since you asked it, I think you're volunteered to answer it also.
Okay. Clear, the winning entries either leave judges breathless or asking lots of questions. So I've seen win where there's no questions because you look and the judges are looking back and forth each other because they're still processing how heavy and profound the idea is. Or you're getting a lot of specific questions because the judges are thinking about, how am I going to implement this? How am I going to pitch this idea to someone with funding? So I'm going to go backwards with how something looks. So that should give you an idea with either you're going to set up your pitch and what you're showing, that it's going to really inspire a lot of questions and people are going to be thinking, how am I going to implement this? Or you completely blow them away with your theatrics and your spectacular idea that they don't know what to do, right? That they're going to have to process more. So things that meet this are either extreme novelty, like, wow, where did that idea come from, right? So that's something to test as you're creating your idea. If you have such a unique approach that could be risky, right? Risk wins hackathons. The novel idea that's crazy wins the hackathon, because this isn't a corporate hackathon. We're all fighting for our lives here. And these are very specific for Greece. So you have these very focused challenges here. Let me look at the real-time supply chain of COVID-19 related materials and devices for all hospitals and points of care. You could take this one challenge right here, pick it apart and find something very specific to do. So what's a winner? A winner is something specific. A winner is something that a judge can see in a hospital next week. So think about that. And that if you have a brilliant technical idea and you're struggling with the communication, reach out during the hackathon to find someone to communicate. Another thing about winning entries is they're well communicated. The best technology does not necessarily win in hackathons. Now you have people like me and Vasilis here to make sure that the tech, that we're able to explain the tech to other judges, so it's appreciated. But what I'm going to share with you is that if you're knee-deep in code and you're there developing something, make sure as part of your effort you find that great communicator. That is a key for all winning entries in hackathons.
Great insight, Mike. Maybe you would like to share some of the, since we did together the previous hackathon, maybe share some stories of winners and what was the thing that stood out to you?
Oh, well, for hardware, I mean, okay, we're talking about chatbots, but this one, and I forget their name, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't forget their name, this great team that won the Fraunhofer Prize, they developed a chatbot. Now, what was...
DIY ventilators.
DIY ventilators. But they did something very specific, and they addressed the point of pain. So when you're in this DIY hardware movement to help address Corona, people who join Slack groups or join efforts tend to ask the same questions. Those questions come to people like me with a lot of experience. Then they make people like me grumpy. Generally, I'm not grumpy, I'm pretty happy. But what I'm getting to is that their solution freed up time for experts. So they created this chatbot that people could ask basic engineering questions and get answers instead of having to post in a Slack group that would randomize people. So this provided immediate utility. Now we're working with Fraunhofer to implement this on their maker effort at IZM. So why did this win? It provided immediate utility. People who saw Ulf and I, who were judging that, we said, wow, we could use that at Fraunhofer immediately. Okay? The team was very interactive throughout the hackathon, took the mentor advice, acted upon it, actually acted beyond the advice that was given. So that's something I could share. That they didn't just take the advice, they ran with it and amplified it. They had a diverse team that was geographically distributed too. So this is Greece, more local flavor. But if you have resources in your Greek hackathon that can do work while you might be sleeping or resting, maximize that. And that's something that winning entry did. Another winning entry was, I'm more in the hardware area, was the team that had optimizations for bioreactors. They found a solution that appealed to one of the partners for the last hackathon, Motion Lab. Okay, where they develop hardware. And it ended up that Motion Lab was looking at developing bioreactors. So it's kind of this matchmaking. That was a winning solution, that this team over-communicated. They were looking for people that could use their solution. They reached out to me. They reached out to a lot of mentors, a lot of bouncing, until they found someone that could use their solution. And then boom, it gave them the energy to present the solution well. Let me throw out another one. This one really didn't win, Elena, but there was a lot of interest. There was a company that was doing some using quantum chemistry to accelerate drug development. Quantum chemistry and also some quantum algorithms that would be using quantum computers to accelerate drug discovery. This went over most people's heads, as it should, because it's a very niche discipline. Yet the right people heard this. And I don't know if they won, Elena, but I sure as hell think they won, because I think Bear and some other parties that had some deep pockets went right after them immediately.
They actually won. Yeah, exactly. They won the Bayer Award. So
Yeah, they did.
wanted to accelerate afterwards mentorship sessions and help them develop their solution.
Now, how did Homonauts do? Did Homonauts win or not?
Yes, they did, and actually, I would have used them as a third example, because what they did very well is what you were talking about as communication. They very clearly communicated and presented very beautifully their simple solution, because basically what they were talking about is how we're all isolated and how we can create a database of resources for everybody to be able to feel connected. And it was a very simple solution. It was a website, so it required like very little tech. It wasn't a very complicated technical solution, but essentially it was very well presented, it was very well defined, and it was one of the winners. So everybody was very happy with the way it was, they communicated, and everybody really liked the project. So I would say a tip to participants and team captains and teams in general would be this, what you were just saying. There's a lot of different ways that you can take advantage of the resources, and essentially, like, one of the beauties of doing an online hackathon is that you can also work in different time zones, right? We've actually reached out to people around the world, Greeks from around the world who live in different locations, people from around the world like Jim Shaw, who's here to support us and help actually the Greek infrastructure to find solutions for our challenges. Basically, they're here to support in different ways. So this is like one of the beauty, like the online hackathon, and also to have people like from all around the world be able to support, like Mike here from Berlin, be able to be here and give us his input. Anyone else from the audience that want to ask us anything? I see so many people, but you don't say anything. Stavros, you are a patient advocate. Would you like to tell us anything? I see it now in your profile. You should tell us your story, share your experience.
Good evening to everybody. I just would like to add a sixth topic concerning the burnout of the people who are patients and their relatives, or the people who take care of them. It's very important to address them with any kind of solution that would provide them resilience in this phase of their lives, because it's a situation in Greece. It did not have this algorithm, this exponential number of patients, but still we changed this situation, changed our lives, and we need to address the public with any kind of how can I tell, any kind of remedy to cure burnout and to help them psychically to go through this adventure.
Thank you so much for your input, Stavros, and very good idea. Patient burnout. It's very important actually to think about it and how to be resilient. And I think it's like a very difficult situation in isolation as well. And how, like, basically you're able to cope with different feelings. I mean, that we have also seen it, and I think that's one of the biggest signs right now with everybody in isolation is depression, anxiety, fear, anger. And I mean, yeah, isolation, being not able really to communicate and be with people. There is Vladimiros from Argentina. Okay, Vladimir, would you like to say a couple of words? Are you building something in Argentina? Anyone else who participates in this hackathon, guys? Mike Xenakis or Panos Bonotis, do you want to share anything as well?
Elena, I have one last point to make.
Please do.
Yes, I need, this is outside the scope here, but I'm very concerned of high death rate in Spain and Italy and soon in other countries. I'd like the panel and whoever listening here to think about how can we have a digital solution to support grieving. Because you cannot jumpstart society, you cannot go back to life when there are still so many people do not understand how their uncle, parent died. They have no chance to say goodbye. We have to figure out a solution. I have some idea, but this is outside the scope here. And yeah, but I like to hear what other people think, because you cannot go back to life. Yeah, after all these tragedies, you know.
There's a rich opportunity to address the second and third tier effects of this epidemic. And I thank you personally for bringing this up. These are things that we're overlooking. How are we going to deal with the mass grieving and how that's going to affect society? And that's just one of many different second and third tier issues, right, that aren't directly the disease, but effects of the disease on people, families, economies.
Yeah.
So how do we make sense of the deaths, right? How do we make sense of these deaths for people so they can heal and move on?
Yeah. So if we have a concrete solution, we are proactively preparing the society. There will be many people going to die, but there is a framework there to take care how we're going to face it, how we're going to get you back slowly to some sort of work. And even if your parent or maybe somebody you know die, how are we going to even address and pay respect? If we can project this kind of plan, right? People are more assured that when they go through this crisis, because somebody is taking care of them, you know?
One thing we know is that people need sometimes, you know, real psychotherapy, you know, to get through grief. And, you know, group therapy works very well. And that group therapy could be, you know, virtual. So virtual groups through digital, you know, applications where you could speak with people that you associate with all around the world may work. So we were talking about real networks at first, which was in the neighborhood or in the family, or, you know, somehow, you know, mapped around us, you know. And now this is in the digital space. So in that respect, you are right. I mean, I'm sure there will be solutions come up to address this issue, as they do now. I mean, there are now groups in Facebook of people with rare diseases, because a rare disease means that 3 people from a very rare disease can be in Greece. And these people make groups with people from China or Argentina or Poland, because they share some issues together, which is their health. So that could be also issue.
I'm one of those people. I have a rare disease called hereditary angioedema type 3, which is a very rare disease. And I just want to throw in that, yeah, when you have something like this, you reach out across the globe.
Yeah.
To find
I
your
just
people.
want to share one concrete example I saw in Korea TV. They basically help a mother grieving of a loss of maybe about 6 or 7 years old daughter, right? So basically they recreated the daughter in an avatar. And the mother actually went through crying, saying goodbye, right? So it's and you can see this in YouTube, right? And you can see the family were there, and the mother went through the process. The mother is able to say whatever the mother want to say, and that speed up grieving and recovery. Very often when something happens so fast, the person you care, you have no chance to say whatever you want to say, but this allow you to say, allow you the time to say, and engaging your emotion, your sensor. and I'm trying to figure out how to do this in scalable options.
Team, really appreciate the emotion. I think, if anything, that is what brings us together and connect us through this cause, because people are here from all to feel that they're part and they're doing something. They're really like taking a stand and taking an action against what we're facing right now globally. Thank you so much for your contribution, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're building during this hackathon. I would like to see if anyone else from the shy people would like to come and say as a couple of words. Perhaps Panos Bonotis or Mike Senakis. Mike, you also had some interesting questions. Maybe you would like to share with us what you plan to build, or ask the CTOs here, CTO in residence, to tell you any ideas and thoughts about your challenge. You don't have to show your face. You can only just chat as well. I've never saw so many shy people here. Jim, you should be the one, the moderator next time. Or did Jim froze also? I can't because I have a webcam. Okay, but maybe talk to us, Mike. You asked
Okay,
something.
sorry. Hello, everyone. I'm willing to come out of the closet here and stop being shy and actually share my team's point of view in this hackathon.
Awesome.
Well, the initial idea started when we realized that there were a lot of initiatives in the local neighborhood, at least in the Thessaloniki municipality where I belong to, and I was very amazed by that. And after a talk with my team, because I am from a local research organization here in Thessaloniki city, we had a meeting and we decided that maybe it would be for the best to join this hackathon and see what we could do to contribute in all this. And our idea was basically a way to connect through a mobile application and a backend server, volunteers and people that are what we call, that are in the vulnerable group of people that are more easily affected by the coronavirus. And one of the functionalities we thought that might be a way to connect these people, to make people that want to come out and offer their help, their selfless help, to provide a platform to them in order to be able to see how much they can help and how they could do that, and maybe pair them with patients with people that are affected by the coronavirus more easily locally in their neighborhoods, or and generally to find a way to connect those two people and make sure that people that want to offer some help, that this help will indeed find someone in need, and they could provide any help they can and they deem worthy to anyone that needs help. And one other part would be possibly some analytics that we could provide in the second phase of this, at least in our project, and some analytics based on the people that they will join this platform and how they will respond, in order to not only just get out results in the technical aspect and the clinical aspect, but also in how an intervention like this could provide help and actually help with from the psychological aspect of people involved in all this. What do you think? What do you think as an idea, as a pitch? What do you think?
So you're matching people that are willing to help with high risk people. Do I understand that correctly?
Exactly.
Okay. So how are you going to take care of people's privacy? I'm just going to play devil's advocate right here. I love the idea, but this is going to be something that's going to come up from a judge that you should think, I would recommend thinking about immediately. How do I protect the identity of the people?
Yes.
And just think about that, because what's happening during Corona is that there are a lot of solutions like this, but then you're asking someone to define themselves as a high-risk person that has may have pre-existing conditions. So it's a beautiful idea. I would just be ready for that question. And if you have something that may not be, if you don't have a solution, but something you think might work for that, I think that would be sufficient. It's just important to demonstrate that you're mindful of the privacy issue in regards for your solution.
Yeah. Well, one idea to tackle this issue, for me at least, is to take the input of already implemented platforms that tackle issues that are very similar to this one. For example, couch surfing. What is one of those issues that you don't know the other person, and you can be sure to validate that he will behave as the platform suggests. So that's why you make the feedback, you make the reporting on on the users to see which one is more trusted or which one is not. I mean, is this something that?
I think that's a great pitch. I think that's a great way to connect with the judges when you're presenting this, that you're able to say a way to address the anonymization is you could say, well, here's an example like couch surfing. So now you've pulled me in, and then I'm accepting what you're saying. Oh yeah, that's, looks like privacy issues are solved with that. And so now I'm thinking from a point of it's solved. That's beautiful what you stated. So I would be very clear about communicating that. Now you're only going to have 3 or 4 minutes. How long do they have, Elena? 3 minutes or 4 to pitch?
Yeah, this time would change things a little bit, actually, Mike.
Yeah.
So we don't have the pitch per se, and it's an important information not to share with everybody since you asked as well. So this time now we don't have actually the pitch live. They have to send and submit their videos, 2-minute videos by 3 p.m. On Sunday. And then there's a couple of hours in between until the live session. Basically, the live session, we will choose 15. The judges will choose 15 of them, of all of the teams to pitch. But actually, they're not going to pitch. They're just going to be presenting the video and being asked questions then live. And then essentially, the next day we will announce the results on Monday, the 13th.
So Panos, my suggestion, I mean, it's a beautiful idea. So pull us in and give us an idea, or the people who are evaluating, how this is going to look in a week, right? How it goes beyond PowerPoint and prototype to like give us an idea, like when you implement the solution we've developed at the hackathon, did you know by next Friday? Like make this immediate. We could have this working, and this is going to be the benefit. And go to a very specific neighborhood. I really love how you're mentioning Thessaloniki. I apologize to my Greek sisters and brothers for not being able to pronounce well. Thessaloniki? Is that where you're from? Yeah, Thessaloniki. So you're being very local there, right? And that's something about Greece. You have enforced locality with all of your beautiful islands and all of your different smaller communities. So I would express that in there, how this is local, how this makes a hypothetical high-risk person in Thessaloniki and make it a very specific neighborhood, how this is going to help. And yeah.
Well, I believe that this is the whole point of this, to be able to be able to observe the needs of the people around you, and how you can turn these needs into a service that you can provide them. And for me, at least, this is something that I see happening around my neighborhoods everywhere. I mean, I'm from a certain neighborhood. I live in a certain neighborhood in Thessaloniki, and I can see the solidarity here, and it's amazing. I mean, what this whole thing has sparked from especially young people. And I believe that this could be something, especially that young people are involved with their smartphones every day. I mean, if you guys have children, you're sure to know that. So to provide a solution, and for me, the difference here and how you can make this a viable solution, because I am talking about young people, because the volunteers in my head are going to be young people, because this is the need I see out there. I think that the UI also and the UX of the whole system is very, very important.
So you're talking about a generational bridge as well, right? That you're not only looking to help high-risk people, you're also looking to make a generational bridge.
Well, this is something that actually I hadn't thought about, but the way I'm talking about this, I think that I might suggesting something like this, yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm hearing you say. You're talking about engaging the young people in a neighborhood that are going to, it's the older that are afflicted first.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I heard when you were pitching that. I just heard, wow, beautiful generational bridge on top of functionality.
Yeah, well, I don't think if it's just because, I am also part of what you just call, I'm quoting here, young people, and I can, I see this need everywhere around me, and this is what amazes me. And yeah, well, I haven't actually, we haven't actually thought about it, but in the end, maybe yes, it will end up being a bridge between older and younger generations.
Have you asked any of these people you've seen in the neighborhood, some of the younger folks, like, have you asked them, said, hey, if I could create a tool, I see that you're doing all of this good in the neighborhood. If I could make something on your smart app, what would help you? Have you asked any questions like this?
Actually, yes, and I couldn't help myself by asking this kind of questions, because when the initial idea of something like this happened, it happens automatically, because you have the target group is actually there. Not asking them seems like a missed chance, something, I don't know. I don't want to say the word stupid, but it seems,
Oh, we're all relaxed here. That's fine. I think, okay, so I think that's another part of your pitch to put in there and to explain, like with your video, that this wasn't something you just thought up, that you took your solution, right? You asked people in the field. This was inspired by people doing the real work, that you were told by people if they had these tools, they could do even more.
Yeah. So as like we're approaching the, yes, yeah, I understand.
Right, yeah, put this into your narrative, because I mean, what I'm hearing now is not only are you providing local community empowerment via a technological tool, you're creating a generational bridge, right, as well. And lastly, sorry, and that this is driven by, you're helping people that want to help. You've already asked what tools they need. So if a judge says, well, how do you know someone's going to need that? They're not even going to ask that question, because as part of your presentation, you're going to be able to show that this came from the community.
Mm-hmm.
This is the community's idea that you're implementing. So, something like that.
So that's the basic idea of what we need to be thinking about in terms of the video. Like the whole idea is not to necessarily have a platform ready to be delivered or something that works perfectly fine, but as to how viable is our idea, and why people should invest in our idea, why this is something that we'll actually save.
Show that awesome Greek government that if you give us funding and support, this is our idea, we know it's going to have this outcome, all we need is support, and we will give you this outcome.
So you would say that it would be best to maybe focus more on the on mock-ups of our ideas instead of actual function to try and strive for perfect functionalities?
Absolutely. There's no way, unless you have some really senior developers, that you're going to be able to make a good piece of working software. I would have a very curated demo that focuses on nice mock-ups that shows the flow and the outcomes. If you're able to put some code in there, that's great, but it's more important to show mock-ups and flows that demonstrate your idea. At least that's my opinion. I hope the panel, Vasilis, what do you think?
Correct. I'm 100% with you, Mike. Most of the times, projects like that tend to fail because they cannot achieve what they had in mind, and because you don't have the time frame to actually develop it. It's better to create a mock-up, the flow, how it goes, all the steps you thought and the processes you expect to have in the future, and maybe rather than trying to complete an MVP.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Vasilis and I both write code, right? I don't write code much anymore. I'm more of a management idiot now. Sorry to any management people, just being self-deprecating. And when you're writing code under pressure, the mistakes that can occur and the bugs you can inject that will give you a world of hurt are unpredictable. And I know this from being a Python guy and spending all night trying to debug where I put a tab in my code. Okay. Yeah, you know that one, Vasilis. Yeah. So, yeah. Focus on the flow. Yeah, get the flow down. Sometimes small coding bugs can derail your hackathon effort.
Mike, thank you so much for sharing your project, Panos, and good luck. Really excited to see what you come up with and how exactly you're going to help people in the Thessaloniki. There's a question here from Mike Xenakis. He says he's building an app that will provide a forecast for hospital equipment and hospital warehouse exchange. How my app can learn the weekly count of possible patients? Can I use an existing solution? What do you think, Mike, Vasilis? How can we help this? How can we help this participant?
Okay, does he say, okay, what I'm curious about, he's saying, can I use an existing solution? So we need better definition there. Because does he mean presenting something that's already been done? Or like, if you're doing any coding, you're assembling existing solutions. You're using libraries, blocks of code. So there's not a problem in assembling existing things to make something new. We could use a little more clarification on this.
Mike Xenakis, can you clarify maybe?
I could extrapolate it while we're waiting for him to answer. Maybe he's thinking about an existing solution that deals with different types of inventory that he would use and purpose for the hospital. In my opinion, that's acceptable because what you're doing is you're taking a tool used for something else and repurposing it for the immediate need with modifications. Well, he says, yes, I want to use an API. Okay, well, using an API, I mean, we're all using APIs. That doesn't seem like that'd be out of bounds. I'd wait for Vasilis on this, but you're still writing your own presentation layer and you're making your own flows. So of course you're going to use an API, right?
I think he mostly refers on in the existing API that actually that he needs to access in the hospital itself, because how else you can manage the hospital warehouses except if you provide a solution on how to manage this public equipment, because it's public health equipment. I could think that as a possibility. For instance, specific QR codes that go to specific equipment and have a counter on speculating. What's this? Okay.
360 solution.
Are you guys thinking of the answer or?
Well, he mentioned that he's going to provide a 360-degree solution and an API. So I think between Vasilis and I think the solution is one, be clear what you're reusing. Any developer understands that you're going to need to access APIs. And, you know, like Vasilis was saying for a hospital, like how are you going to get inventory from hospitals, right? I think I'm not sure if we're getting the gist of what Mike is trying to communicate, because he says existing solution, but there would be an existing solution for the inventory in a hospital, right? We wouldn't expect you to create your own API and inventory tracking system for a hospital that already has that tool. That wouldn't make sense.
If I may say, is that you know, during the hackathon, I mean, we have many mentors that come from hospitals, and if you need specific information, you know, from the information manager of a hospital, how to get it, the different types of information and how it can be accessed. You can get that information during the hackathon. Just ask for help to get the information to be, you know, to be clear. And if you need to ask, you know, the administrators to you know, to give you access to people that can provide you with information that would probably help you formulate clearly your idea.
Mike, did we answer your questions? Did that help? It sounds like we're going to have a lot of support for you, that you'll have direct, you know, hospital resources. That's golden to have in a hackathon, not just clinicians. I mean, actually, if you have hospital administrators, that's critical, because these are the people who need the supplies. That sounds wonderful. Do we have any other participants out there that would have questions? This is a great time to ask.
Coming back to the types of mentors we have gathered for this hackathon, we have clinicians that can, you know, guidance for telemedicine, etc. We have, you know, managers of hospitals and ITs, but also, you know, different specialities. And one good advice for all teams is, among all those mentors, choose your potential clients and discuss with them. Because if you can sell the idea to them, then you're, you know, you're on track. And get advice. Because even for those teams who are not going to win, they will get good feedback on what they're building, which will be a treasure.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, yeah. I want to use the API only for weekly count of possible patients' parts. Mike, it sounds like you're really working on a robust solution that you're already getting to work. That's beautiful.
Amazing. So how do you feel? Should we wrap this session up? Are there any more questions? What do the CTOs say? We're already 20 minutes over time, but it was such a fruitful discussion that I didn't want to cut it off. Just let me know what you want to do, Mike and Vasilis. Thank you so much for your input so far. I was actually really thinking maybe we should do another CTO session. Dun, dun, dun. Ask you here in front of everybody so you can't say no.
If it's helpful, absolutely. I mean, the more I'm learning about this, I mean, you've been sharing the information about this hackathon with me, but really what Lena and your team have assembled here, I want the participants to know that you have clinicians and hospital administrative staff on tap to support you during this hackathon. That is critical, really. Those are the hardest resources to get, especially now. Very cool.
Thank you, Mike.
So count me in. Yeah, I've got to go feed the kids, or I'm going to be needing to go to a hospital myself.
All right. Well, next time bring your cat, please, to this. Um,
Oh, I'll bring, okay, so we'll do another one. I'll gladly bring my cat. Yes.
okay, awesome.
All right.
Great.
Until
So
then, cheers.
guys, good luck hacking away. And yeah, nice to have your ideas here and see you all very, very soon. Have a good evening. Chat soon.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Yes.